Hi everyone, I'm Caterina.
And I'm Francesca.
And today we're here on the second day of this 13th edition of Ca' Foscari Short Film Festival with one of our main guests, Rob Savage, who is the young promise of horror filmmaking and yesterday gave a brilliant masterclass for the students. So Rob Savage, welcome. Thank you for being here. We're thrilled to talk to you.
Okay, let's start with the first question. And what inspired you to get into horror filmmaking? Is there a movie in particular that shaped you since you started so young and inspired you to approach horror as a genre?
Well, I was raised by kind of hippy-dippy vegan parents who didn't want me watching anything too violent. We didn't have a TV in the house for the first few years of my childhood. So of course all I wanted to do was find the most violent movies I could watch and sneak them in. So I had a TV that I hid under my bed, and I would go to like thrift stores and buy any kind of horror movie that I could, hide them, and then when my parents went to bed I'd kind of stay up and watch these horror movies. And you know, it was a black and white TV and I'd watch them on silent, so I wouldn't really understand what was going on, but I just loved the visuals and I loved the gore and I loved the kind of surrealism of them. And I think the thing that I love about horror movies is, you know, there's this idea that Hitchcock talks about, pure cinema, which is basically doing away with words and just letting the juxtaposition of images tell the story. You know, there's huge sections of his movies where nobody talks and you're just getting this kind of montage that tells the story. And you know, horror movies are really the only genre where people, you know, on a kind of mainstream level will accept these long periods of pure cinema where you can tell a story just through visuals, through lighting, through composition. And it's not only that they'll accept it, they love it. You know, horror audiences are so connected to the language of cinema that it's really some of the most exciting, boundary-pushing stuff in cinema is happening within the horror genre. And it happens to be the genre that you can push at those boundaries while still drawing in large crowds and actually making a living, which is one thing I want to do. So it kind of combines all the things that I love most about cinema.
Very interesting, thank you.
Great. So, with your latest feature films, Host and Dashcam, you were able to sort of, let's say, innovate the genre by like reinventing the technique of found footage, using all those social media platforms that were popular during the pandemic. For example, Host is shot during a Zoom video call, while Dashcam is shot on a live stream. So we wanted to ask you, like, what do you think this new technique could add to a horror movie, and what do you think is like the future of horror as a genre, like in general? Like, are there new themes to explore, new techniques that are yet to be discovered?
Yeah, there's always new things to be discovered, but I think you've also got to know and love your horror history or your film history. And you know, the reason that we made Host and Dashcam was really because we saw this opportunity where there was a lot of upheaval and weirdness going on in the world, and we saw that by making it a found footage, by shooting on iPhones, by shooting in the style of a Zoom call, we could make these movies very fast and get them out and almost make a statement about the craziness of the times under which they were made. The idea was that we were planting a flag and saying, listen, this is what it felt like to be locked in your home during summer of 2020 when we were all losing our minds. And it becomes a kind of a document of that time. And I feel like found footage is unique in that respect because all of the things that are normally disadvantages, you know, not having money for lights and huge, you know, the fact that you have to shoot on an iPhone, they become advantages because they make it feel more authentic, they make it feel more lived in, they make it scarier.
They involve the audience.
Exactly, and I think that was really what we wanted to do, especially with Host, is people are very cynical right now. People live on Twitter. It's very hard to do something like a Blair Witch, where, you know, back in '92, people really believed that these kids had gone missing in the woods, and they were seeing this footage that they almost shouldn't be watching. This document of their death almost. And you can't do that these days. People are too savvy. People are too skeptical. People are too cynical. But we had this captive audience during lockdown. And we thought, if we could make a movie that feels so authentic to what people are going through day to day, not only the lockdown, but just how it feels to be on a fucking Zoom call, not being able to actually physically interact with people. If just for one moment people forget that they're on a Zoom call and they feel like they're involved, they're part of the chat, forget they're in a movie and do feel like they're in a Zoom call, that's something that's worthwhile, that's something that's unique that only a found footage movie made at this time in this way could ever do. And I think if you're smart and you're nimble and you're able to move fast like we were, the studios weren't able to mobilize any movies during summer of 2020 while we were all locked down. If you're able to move that fast, you can really find these unique opportunities within the genre to reach a huge audience and create stuff that feels like you haven't seen it before.
Sure. Okay, and the last question is about Host. Your movie has been mentioned as one of the most scariest movie of all time. And for example, there was an experiment monitoring the heartbeat and of people watching the movie.
And Host is number 8.
Ah, okay.
2 in the top 10.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool, I think. So we wanted to ask you, is that something that really scares you? And how do you think fear plays a role in a film? It's like something that is cathartic, I don't know.
Good question. Well, I think when you're making a horror, people are mostly afraid of ghosts and the supernatural. If you want to put it like, not very philosophical, but like supernatural movies tend to scare audiences more. That just seems to be a fact. And I think it's because one, it deals with the unknown, it deals with what happens after death, which are things that everyone is afraid of, whether they like to admit it or not. But it's also, those movies tend to be about supernatural forces kind of impeding on domestic spaces. Spaces where we feel safe, spaces where we feel comfort, and really that's what horror is about. Well, that's what like smart horror is about. It's about finding places where people feel safe, people feel protected, and infiltrating that with an idea that's going to stay in their head. It's why movies like Paranormal Activity works so well, because it takes your bedroom, it takes you at your most vulnerable when you're sleeping, and it makes that sacred space somehow kind of perverted. It makes it makes it a place of vulnerability. It's the same thing with Nightmare on Elm Street. When you're a kid and you're scared, you run to your bed and hide under the covers, and that movie makes it the site of the most horror. And I think it's always about trying to find those places of safety, perceived safety and insecurity. And that's what we did with Host. The idea was, well, we're being told that if you leave your house, you're going to die, you're going to kill grandma, everything, don't go outside, you're safe inside your house. So it's like, wouldn't it be great to make a horror movie that makes even the inside of your house unsafe? Like, let's ruin the one space that people feel safe and comfortable right now. And it's, we had a captive audience as well, so they had to stay in this place even as that we were making it feel unsafe underneath their feet. And I forgot the second part of the question.
If you think that fear is something that is cathartic,
It can be, but there are some horror movies that have fucked me up permanently. I've watched some horror movies, and I think sometimes if there's an idea or there's an image or something that speaks to a kind of deeper, more existential dread that exists within you, that can last a lifetime. There are some horror movies that I watched that I'll never forget. I'll never go swimming in the sea without thinking about Jaws, for example.
It changed your mind.
Exactly. I'll never be caught in the woods after dark because of Blair Witch Project. So they do. Horror movies shape the way we think, but they can also be really fucking fun. And it's like one of the few genres where you have to really, to watch a horror movie in the best possible way, you have to be in a cinema surrounded by other people. When everyone jumps, there's this feeling that you're all going through an experience together. At the end of it, it's a really scary movie. We all made it. We all got through that together. It's that's really why you make movies, and no other genre can really replicate that.
Great. Okay. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We love talking to you, and have a great rest of the festival.
Thank you. Okay.